Welcome back to the KDPG Sunday edition. The Woodland Hills School District has now lost too many students to gun violence. Antoine Rose Jr. is the latest victim. Alicia Lentz, the Assistant Superintendent of the Woodland Hills School District, is with us this morning, as is Reverend Glenn Grayson, pastor of the Wesley Center AME Zion Church in the Hill District. His son Jerron was shot and killed in 2010 visiting a friend's apartment in California, Pennsylvania. Reverend Grayson founded the Center That Cares to help young people. Thank you very much, both, for being here to talk about a very difficult situation. I'm sure there's still not a day goes by that you don't think about Jerron, that you don't miss him desperately. What would you tell people about your son? How would you describe him?
Jerron, kind of like Antoine, had this great potential, and you just saw it, and it was a gift to the world. And to leave and die and not live out your potential is tragic. And so I share with other parents, and it's just a natural, it's not the natural order for a parent to bury a child, and nothing that you expect. And again, all these young, great young men who have so much potential and leaving before their time and not being able to become the future doctors and lawyers and ministers and, you know, entrepreneurs, is just, it saddens us. We look at Antoine, and, you know, as we read about him being an AP student and just a powerful influence, and now he's gone.
At the same time, Alicia, you have seen this from a very different perspective as an educator, as a teacher, as an administrator, far too many times in your district. At some point, you're tired of hearing the news, I'm sure. What do you talk about within the hallways at Woodland Hills about what's gone on there?
Well, I think you have to keep the perspective that they're my children. They're our children. They're high school students. Unfortunately, we had an elementary school student this year. They walk the halls of the high school. They're kids. They want the same things everybody else wants. But unfortunately, you know, situations happen. I can't stop the gun violence myself, but I can make sure that my kids have the proper mentors, the proper resources, that they don't get themselves in that situation. And that's what I can do. We talk about the smiles they have. We talk about their families. We talk about their friends. We need to keep their spirit alive, and we need to have to want to understand where they're coming from and what's happening, so we can deal with the trauma, understand the trauma, and then heal. Not as an entire district. I have 12 communities, and it affects each and every one, because my kids are amazing. And they're all friends. There's no divide in my schools.
Well, and oftentimes I'm sure you have siblings who are left behind as well, and that constant reminder has to be there.
Absolutely.
As well.
You know, unfortunately, when an event happens, we respond rather quickly. But you know, there's little ones, or there's older siblings, or I might have had them when they were in high school. Yesterday, when I visited the family, I had Antoine's sister when I was in the high school. You know, so we're all connected. It's a large school district, but it's a small community of 12. And we just have to keep their spirit alive and understand what happened, try to make sure it doesn't happen again, and give the kids, and most importantly the families, all the resources we can. That's our job. You know, our job is to teach, and at the end of the day, if we get to teach, that's a good day, but we're here for our kids and our families, and we have to provide every resource that we can. Otherwise, I'm not doing my job if I don't.
Reverend Grayson, you are, by your work at the Hope business, and how do you give the greater community a sense of hope in the face of this despair, and also to stop from becoming cynical and saying, well, this goes on, it has nothing to do with me as long as I'm safe in my little cocoon? You know, how do you?
Well, no one's safe in that a bullet doesn't have a name to it. I mean, my son was a son of a preacher and an attorney. And so he wasn't safe. So there's no one safe, so we should not take that attitude. I think we have a responsibility as a community to make sure that every child is as safe as possible, and that we should put in place the resources and support to give every child a given chance. There's something wrong with the system. There's something wrong that an African-American kid says, I'm not what you think, that what your envision of me, from what you think of me, I am not that you would shoot first before understanding that I'm a human being. That would you do that in the same neighborhood? I can't imagine being sworn in on the job 90 minutes and that you can pull out a gun in 90 minutes and shoot someone in the back. It amazes me that, you know, my first day at most jobs, you're at a desk with a manual, say, learn this. At minimum, I would say, to my new officers, go, walk 10 blocks north, south, east, and west, say hello to 10 different people, and begin to learn people. We have to learn people and communicate and understand we're not that different.
Yeah, I mean, to be clear, the officer in the Antoine case, he had some experience. He was new to this force.
Yes, but still, even being new, the newness should tell you, let me learn my community, let me find out who's who. And we need more of that. What's happening is the relationships are not there, and we make assumptions, and our children are afraid and scared. I mean, if a parent calls the police on a small situation to kind of calm something, and they lose their child, something's wrong with that scenario. You do want to, so they should be safe. And they are wonderful officers, but there's something wrong with the scenario that you can call law enforcement out, and at the end of the day, your child is dead. Your black child is dead.
Alicia, there was an initiative that had to do more with opioid situations, but children in Charleston, West Virginia, who had seen things at crime scenes that police were then dealing with the school district, labeling them as handle with care. That was the term that they used. How much are you in contact, whether it's with law enforcement, with the church and the faith community, to say these are kids who have seen things that maybe children ought not see? How much does that happen right now?
Well, our superintendent, Mr. Alan Johnson, brought the Handle with Care program into the district. So it's in its infancy, but we have it. We work very well with our boroughs and our police officers. They share information. They have to, because they know how much it's going to impact the entire district. And we have started the School Justice Partnership, which is out of Judge Woodruff's office, and it's a partnership between county probation, juvenile justice, and basically what it is, it's a diversion program for kids that maybe have got themselves in a situation, and instead of kicking them to juvenile court right away, we have a diversion program. There's a great model in the city of Philadelphia. Myself and 2 other administrators went and visited, because our kids are seeing things that they shouldn't be seeing, and it's not their fault. It's not their fault. And so what we have to do is provide them with resources and then also strategies. Yes, you have the opioid addiction, but that's not really affecting my kids. Right. Gun violence is affecting my kids.
No question.
So yes, is that a problem in this country? Absolutely. Am I sympathetic to it? Absolutely. Gun violence is my problem.
Yeah, and that was the issue that Charleston was dealing with, was the opioid situation,
yes,
more so than the gun violence. Here it's been a different situation. Tell me what the Center that Cares does that sort of help families rebuild and allow communities to heal.
So the Center that Cares have been active for 19 years. I started a program where about 6 young people was knocking on my door as I walked into the church saying that we have nothing to do. And so 19 years later, we have over 200 students that we serve in 4 different locations, from pre-K through high school. We met our first generation kids who go off to college, but we teach them to respect and appreciate their zip code 15219 and to expose them to others. We're getting ready to take 12 young people to Ireland on July 16th. Exposure, exposure, exposure. I think more kids who are exposed to opportunities, to chances, to the same equal opportunity as other kids, they have a better chance of making it and being that hope of success. It's exposure, it's support, it's love, it's being understanding, it's saying that yes, there's some real issues. We know it, we're part of it. So I'm calling on the mayor's office, foundations, city council, ministers, the mosque, everyone to come together, and let's realize how we can impact and make a difference. We have to stop. We have to stop this madness of these deaths day in and day out. We have to save lives. Antoine, Jerron, whether it's black on black or blue on black, it has to stop.
Right. I know there's a lot of things we could talk about, but we're running short on time. Final thoughts in terms of what you'd like to see within your district or within the city of Pittsburgh or Western Pennsylvania?
We have to come together. We have to call a ceasefire. We have to love each other. We have to get back to humanity. And I'd be remiss if I did not mention Augustus Gray, Jeremy Turner, Joe Lawrence, Stewart, and now Antoine Rose. They're my children. They're my babies, and they're gone. And so we just have to love one another and do what we need to do to come together, like Reverend said, and you can't change anything without hope. I have tremendous amount of hope for this city, for the region, for this country, but we have to do it together. We have to get in the streets. We have to quit talking about it. We have to go do it.
Time to act. Thank you both very much.
Thank you.
And again, sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
Again, hollow
Did I
words
say
at
Augustus?
these times.
I'm sorry.
John Ellis and I will be back. We will have some final thoughts as the KDPG Sunday edition continues in just a few moments.